Round two is in the books, and welcome back to the Weekly Scoop, everyone. I managed to score 947 last week with a couple of big scores that I hit, but unfortunately, a couple more that I missed. Grant over Watson really hurt this week, as well as playing Cole and Duffy when I had everybody in emergency scoring better than him. So I think that probably about 960 was par this week. If we go to yet another fantasy stat site, you can see the distribution is centered around that 950, 960 mark. It reckons that the average and the median is a bit lower than that, but that's because there was a bunch of round one teams that ended up going really well with a bit of a lucky squad that wasn't so well prepared for round two. But yeah, Fisher Harris got the minutes that we were hoping for. Payne Haas was legendary. And pretty much the only thing that really went too wrong for me was managing to muck up these guys. And yeah, Watson, as I said. So moving on to round three, I'm looking so far just to do probably Duffy to Toa with the Duffy team list, which we will go through in a minute. And I'm going to think about the second trade. Got 151 left. I can't quite reach Starling from Iongi or anything like that. And there's not really many people that want to trade out anyway. I could do Savar Faf perhaps, but he kind of came good a little bit, although could have scored a little bit higher if he hadn't missed a couple of tackles right at the end there. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with my money making. I think I'm about just under 10.8 million squad value. So that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Managed to win probably about half my leagues this week. There was some big scores and some small scores. I saw a couple of thousands and yeah, ended up going quite well. In the battle of the podcasts, we've got DGens sitting up the top. And shout out to Geordie from NRL Fantasy Echo Chamber. He is in second place. Give that a listen if you want some of his opinions. And I'm on there pretty regularly as well. Mitch is in fourth, just a fraction behind. Jamie's down there, and I slipped down quite a few spots with late updates. I did not enjoy Lucas -7. I think I was 959 and then slips to 947. So that was 12-point drop, which could be 5 or 6 places. Yeah, some good teams in here. We'll monitor this throughout the season. But boom or bust, Jamie, DGens, NRL Fantasy Echo Chamber, Blindside, Fantasy Fanatics, NRL Fantasy Amateurs, NRL Fantasy Pro. Who else? PNG NRL Fantasy Podcast, More Late Mail Crew, Casual Athlete, then putting Paulie G's team in there as well. So we've got quite a lot of people and quite a lot of podcasts in this league. It'll be very interesting to see how it goes. But well, let's crack into this team lists. Round three in the books for the team lists. Not in the books yet. Storm v Panthers. Man, what a turnaround for the grand final, hey? Panthers ground Storm into the dirt. And it just looked like it was never going to be, there's just always going to be the one way from the beginning of that game. So in this time, I think it's completely flipped. Storm just are absolute favourites and they look amazing. Panthers a little bit clunky. Cole's managed to keep his place. Schneider, Tulagi, and Tulau are right on the fringes, though, so do watch out for that. Dane Laurie comes in for Dylan Edwards, who is injured, and we've got Grant Anderson in for Warbrick. Otherwise, not a lot changes. I'm hoping Grant can take some more tackles this week, please, and get that base back up a bit, because I'd really love some good scores to counter the Watsons at the moment. Not too much going on. I think this will be a good game. Panthers will lift, and they'll be smarting from losing that game that they weren't expecting to lose, probably. But I still think the Storm will get up. They just look so good this year, and not a lot really actually going on to suggest that they'll drop this game, to be honest. So could be back-to-back losses for the Premiers. It will be interesting. I honestly don't know how to tip this game. Warriors looked dead and buried for the first 20 minutes. Metcalf wasn't doing anything. All the sellers were rejoicing. And then they turned it around and really flogged the Seagulls, actually. Metcalf, absolutely brilliant. And then the Roosters very, very grindy, strong performance to get over the top of the Panthers. And really, they kind of did it not easily in the end, but the score was a lot closer than it probably should have been, apart from those few late tries. But we have Spencer Leedy coming back from his suspension. We have Radley Wong at edge. Collins is dropped to the bench. Now, this is interesting because this will affect White in some manner. White will not play 58 minutes for 51 points like he did last week, but what will happen? Is Collins going to come on and play 50 minutes and White drops off after 30? Is Lenu going to play less minutes and White's going to really take over? I don't really know how to read it, but I do know that White's probably not going to get the same minutes again. And the first initial price rises and big scores are pretty good for keeping that going along. You might be looking to move him on within the month. On the Warriors side, not really anything changing. Fish and Barnett played 60 minutes last game and worked so much better for them. Those rotations, I think they will do well. The Warriors, if they can sort out their team and their rotations like they did last week, it just worked so much better. Metcalf controlled the game because the forwards were allowed to really push over the other team. Just good signs for the Warriors in that game. I think that personally, the Roosters always feel like they beat the Warriors, but this year the Roosters are a little bit wounded. So I'm very tempted to go the Warriors. Still haven't decided that way yet. Anyway, Bronx versus Cowboys. This could be a pasting. Sorry, Jamie, but Todd Payton doesn't really know what to do. Jake Clifford's coming in for Duffy. Purgey, the only reason why he's still there, I think, is because Laybutt hurt himself. Derby's in for the injured Braden Burns. Nanai's back, but he's on the bench. It just doesn't spell good things for some of these Cowboys. Like Bateman, does he get 80 anymore? Probably. I'd imagine Kai Donald doesn't quite get the full game. But when you've got somebody like Payne Haas facing up against that that side, it could be really painful for Bateman and for is Purge on that side too? Can't remember, but either way, it could be a really good week to captain Payne Haas. You just have to hope that he does well enough and the Broncos keep it close enough that he doesn't come off with 10 to go and he plays 60 minutes rather than 50 minutes. So legitimate captaincy option this week, him, Cleary, and May for me. Yo, possibly, but I mean, it's hard to captain him off of 30. Very difficult to do that. Reece Walsh, what's he doing? -1 and huge break even, but honestly, he might not lose too much cash. He could carve up against this team and get himself at 70 and be on our buy list in a few weeks if he's dropped about 100k by then. So one to really watch. Corey Pate's going all right. Yeah, but the rest of this team, not a lot going on for buys and sells other than get Payne Haas in your team if you can figure out a way where it doesn't blow everything up. All right. Yeah, and Duffy's probably a sell, right? Like, there's not a lot of issues this year going on. Like, there's a couple floating around, like Hosking, um, if you manage to start with Royce Hunt or anything like that. But Duffy's just seems one of the clear sells this week, with most of the others still kicking. Sharks, hey? How good is Iro? Iro is very strong. He's a very strong boy. 12 tackle breaks. And to be honest, he could be just another keeper again. He just could be 50 average. Unsurprising. Hines is better. Fneur Blake, not as good as the last week. That'll happen when he doesn't tries. Sharks did well. Sharks didn't really change anything. Rabbitohs, they welcome back Jack Whiten this week. So there's a little bit of shuffle in the back line, but not too much going on yet. So Dodd still reserves. Duncan is lock because Hubner is suspended for 2 weeks. That is a very big talking point. I'd say he's a hold because there's not a lot of other issues. If for some reason you don't have Duffy, you can possibly sell Hubner especially if you think Duncan might keep that spot. But he brought him over from the Dolphins and he's really revved him up and praised him for his performances. So I think Hubbard's still fine to hold. Yeah, Humphreys, how good. If you still don't have him, third week in a row, there's no dog. Get him in right this instant. Okay, Dolphins. There's a little bit of a change, I think. Who's in? Oh, no, not a change, but Jack Bostock is finally in the reserves. I'd say that we might see Averillo move to 6 if Bostock comes in, because that's what they were running a fair bit of preseason, but I'm not sure. But Bostock just strikes me as somebody who could be really good winger, a big body. Don't know really why they moved him to centre in the preseason, but will be interesting to see if he does come in. Tommy Gilbert, bit of a low game, probably seen a floor and a ceiling game now. He's probably going to average about that 50 mark and be all right. I wouldn't race out and buy him now because he's made 50k already or whatever it is. Some of that value is gone now, but yeah, he's great to own if you do have him. Stafford Toa is probably close to the buy of the week. For people who have already got the standard cows like Toya and Humphreys and all that, I'd say he's probably buy of the week. Like, he's got a good matchup against the Dolphins. He's just come off of 50. His break even's low. He's still cheap. It's the week to buy him. Duffy to him just seems very easy this week. Terrell May is the other captaincy option. How fit is this bloke? This bloke is like Payne Haas. 64 minutes in 36-degree heat before he comes off. He played the whole first half, played 25 minutes in the second half straight. This dude just could keep going forever and ever if he wanted to. It's amazing. But yeah, Terrell May or Payne Haas could be the captaincy options this week over Cleary if you want to, especially given Cleary's playing the Storm. However, don't forget that fading Cleary as captain sometimes does really hurt. Remember when we saw Hopgood in 2023 go 80, and then like a 37 after that? It was pretty disgusting. I don't think we're going to see that from Terrell May and Payne Haas because, well, we know what they can do, especially Payne Haas, but seems pretty strong. Seyfarth, don't go buying him, but probably don't go selling him either. He scored like 6 or 7 above his price and with 1 or 2 less missed tackles. And if he finally gets some attacking ball, it's just going to go up. So slow burn, not as good as some of the other options, but he's fine. He's fine. All right. The Titans. I tell you, I think I overestimated them for their round 1 performance, but I don't think I've overestimated how well they'll do this year. I think they're going to be pretty decent. I think they'll be just around the 8. But they didn't have a trial for a long time. How to buy. Yeah. Don't mind me, just alarms. You have a buy, then they get flooded by the cyclone, and then they have a Sunday match, the last game. So they basically hadn't done anything since the end of Feb. That's really tough to get cohesiveness, but yeah. Brimson and Campbell, especially Brimson, had a bit of a rough one, but Campbell still got 46 in a game where he had basically no attack and like 10 negatives. Pretty solid signs for what he can produce outside of that. But yes, I think that David Fafita on the bench playing 30 minutes a game is really dumb. I do not understand it. Apparently he's fit, like the questions were asked, but he's fit, he's fine. But over the last few years, they've seemed to like playing him interchange for 60 minutes randomly sometimes. And I would recommend him as a buy if he gets cheap enough, but it's just a bit weird. Do we know whether it's going to happen again? I don't know. But yeah. Beau Fermor, if you don't have Dylan Lucas, Beau Fermor is a very nice alternative, but you're paying for basically what you're going to get. You're going to get a 50 to 55 average edge center duel, and you're going to enjoy it. He doesn't have a buy like Lucas does coming up. He's just had it. I expect him to score probably similar-ish Maybe Lucas a little better, but I'm probably biased as a Lucas owner. Let's move over to these Knights. That whole left side, Ponga, Best, Marshu, Sharp, they all scored 65 plus in a romping. I am terrified that Ponga is going to turn up this week. Absolutely terrified. He scored 80 without a try. Amazing. Marshu, great. 69 or 70 without a try. His offloading is something crazy. Him and Haas have like head and shoulders above everyone for offloading at the moment. I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts because it's not sustainable. I wouldn't probably go and buy Marshu. To be honest, I probably wouldn't buy any of them with their buy next week unless you don't have basically any Knights. Then I would probably chase Ponga because he's going to be incredible this year by the look of it. And if you wait another week, he's going to be 50k more or whatever it is. So I think that's probably all you can say about those Knights guys. And yeah, there's a few guys missing. Brady Jones, Kai Pearce, Paul, Leo Thompson are out suspended and suspended as well, I think. No, knee injury. Okay. So Cam Pereira's out, Jollife's out for the Titans, and the rest is pretty much as per program. So buy Ponga if you don't have too many Knights. Marshu's great. Lucas is great. End of story. All right. Yeah, I know I'm wearing my Eels shirt. I know I'm an Eels fan, but I think that's the worst game of footy I ever watched. That first half, that was pretty diabolical. If we're that rudderless without Moses, we don't deserve to make top eight when he's back. We need to fix more issues than that. Our attack was not good. It was not good at all. We didn't kick aerial targets. We never looked like getting through that Tigers line. And we were up there like 3 times more than they were up at our end. So stuff needs to change. Dean Hawkins is 7. Hopefully he can kick us down the field a bit more. Maddo is on the reserves. Adokar's on the reserves. I'd say they're quite likely to come in, and we'll see how that goes from there. But just put somebody convince Lomax that he's a winger, please. He's such a good winger, and he's so much better at wing than he is at centre. They moved Penasini to put Lomax there, and just no, no. Anyway, other than that, Hopgood probably isn't going to get you the ceiling scores with the Eels playing this poorly. Not going to get those sort of attacking bust through the line offload to somebody for a try or Buster himself. But 54 and 64 minutes is fine. I know it's not Payne Haas, but it's keeper levels, and the minutes are really good as well. So Jermaine Hopgood is fine. Don't panic your head off about that. Riley Smith, he's an interesting one. He's played 50 plus minutes 2 weeks in a row, one for 21 and the other one for 30. You can buy him, and I think he's not a bad buy this week, but you don't have to do it this week. He's not going to rush away from you doing 50 minutes a game. And I don't like buying bench forwards. I prefer him starting, to be honest. But if he's getting 50 minutes a game, it doesn't exactly matter whether he starts or doesn't start. He'll make money. But yeah, unless for some reason he pumps out a 40, he's not going to move anywhere near 300-ish. So he's fine to pick up at a later time as he moves into it. But yeah, the Bulldogs are a bit carved up this week as well. Matt Burton injured, Kikau injured, and we've got Sexton and Hayward in the halves. And Preston's surely locked in for 80 now for at least the foreseeable future, probably more. Could be scoring better. Still didn't score amazing with a try last week, but not a sell. I think this is a game where the Eels have an opportunity to win if they get up for it, given the Bulldogs are a little bit blown up, especially in the halves, but I am not confident in that. I've tipped the Bulldogs. The Eels just were not inspiring. All right, last game, Seagulls and Raiders. I think this is going to be pretty close to game of the round if it wasn't for the grand final rematch. I think this is going to be really fun. Raiders have played very well the first 2 weeks. Seagulls got a little beat up by the Warriors last week. Turbo and DC had niggles, but they've named again. I am a little worried for my Supercoach team that Turbo might be a very late out, and that'll be very annoying because he's the last game of the round. Um, but we'll see about that. Garrett's fine. He'll score less than 40 when they get flogged. That's about it. But yeah, Alaquadu had a down game. Turbo had a very down game. There's a few cheap guys running around at the moment. So Walsh, a lot cheaper and is going to get cheaper. Turbo, a little cheaper now after that low game and could get a bit cheaper. If they were both high 500s, who would I buy? Maybe Walsh, because I know he'll at least do some kicking and stuff. Turbo is sort of a guy who can score enormous, but doesn't have the floor because he does not kick and he does not kick goals. So he just doesn't have quite that upside compared to some of the others. He's amazing, but I'm not going to go expecting him to fill the stat line in every area. I would expect him to do like 2 tries, 3 assists, and 8 tackle breaks one week. But then the next week, well, he could do this, what he did last week. Anyway, we've got Savage coming back in. Basically, full confirmation that Tamale is locked in. If you still don't have Tamale, get him in this week. It's not too late. He's very good. Tackle breaks, just very good scorer for the wing. Reserve grade stats are fantastic for that. Just get him in. Here is the controversial stuff. This is probably the biggest talking points of the week. Do you buy Matty Nicholson and Tom Starling? 2 guys who are subject to Ricky rotations and possibly on injury watch with Hosking, could be 4 weeks, could be 6. That's enough time for Nicholson, especially given that 84. I wasn't. He was good in attack, but also outside of that, those stats aren't really repeatable. 2 turnover tackles, couple of line breaks, couple tries, and not a lot of run meters. He's mostly just a tackle bot. So I think he's fine, but given he's already 500k and you need about 6, like low to mid 600s to be happy with the pickup, you probably need him to average about 50 from here, which possible. But yeah, I mean, look again, Sasangi on the bench. Only reason it was a bit different last week's because Hosking got himself injured and they played Hosking at lock and all these other different things. So I haven't really looked into how that'll affect Nicholson so much other than, well, he's just Hosking now and the bench is basically very similar. So for me, I'm not massively keen on Nicholson. I think you'll get 100k. I don't think you'll get 150. So get him if you want. Not for me, though. Starling, he's coming on 6 or 7 minutes from the end of the game for Smithies or Papali'i or whoever playing in the middle. That's really good for his scoring. So instead of putting him at low 60s minutes, putting him at high 60s minutes, we know Tom Starling's a gun when he gets minutes in the hooker position. Attack isn't exactly repeatable, but he is a bit of an attacking player, so he'll get a good chunk compared to most other hookers. He's 500k now, though, and Ricky loves to just bench him randomly sometimes. So I'd be very tempted if I could afford him. I can't quite afford him. So yeah, another one that's probably borderline. I like him more than I like Nicholson, but only just. Only just. All right. Okay, so let's have a look at what I want to do with my fantasy team this week. I've done Duffy to Toa. My other thoughts were potentially Iongi out. That gets me up to 491k. And if I look in that sort of bracket, I just missed out on Nicholson and Starling types, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, most of these guys just below that don't really seem like good upgrade targets. Howarth is nice, but I mean, I have Dylan Lucas, I have Toya, I have Nwanga Nidawase. Don't know if I need him, and also Panthers first up. So very good. Brimson, he's a good Iongi replacement wing fullback, but he's just coming off a low one. I probably want to see Titans do better before I jump on. That's probably what I'm going to do eventually. I'm going to give Iongi one more week. And if he doesn't go good, I'm just going to swap him to Brimson or something along those lines anyway. Yeah. I'm probably going to leave it at that, honestly. I'm probably just going to do the one trade. Very nice, very luxurious to be saving trades at this time of year. But yeah, anyway, let's have a look at the Supercoach team. Had a great week last week, just under 1,400, moved up to 1.4k. Saw the shout out in Jamie's vid before. I think I'm about sixth in the Podmasters League. But yeah, there's some really strong guys in there. Yeah, seventh. There we go. Shout out to Myth and talented Guthos. Absolutely cracking start. 18th overall. But yeah, I am probably going to do the very boring, very standard pirate method. I call it the pirate method because it's got so many R's in it. R, Jesse Arthurs, Tom Starling, and Payne Haars. It's two huge negative break evens, and Payne Haas playing this current situation. I have Tino and I have May, but Haas is he just looks so good this year. And I can play Tino at second row as well if I want to, and Horse, so I'm fine with that. And it actually might be a go to do something like that and see who I want to reserve over a safe Arth. Look, it's sort of weird to not have safe Arth playing if he's 435k, but I don't see a lot of attack happening for him at the moment. Iongi, I don't know what to do with him. Could score low again if the Eels are no good, or he could be one of the best in the park, like in the first match against the Bulldogs team. You'd think he'd go okay, but I mean, I thought he was going to go well against the Tigers. So who knows at this point? Metcalf, the legend. Glad I didn't sell him. I really want Humphreys, but there's only so many spots you can have. And Sandon is very good and goes down to there. Sold for Duffy to make room for Tommy Starling. Okay, my trades this week were, I think, Hopgood, uh, Duffy, and Campbell Graham. Punted on Graham, thinking that he might go okay because he's discounted from where he usually sits. Yeah, Souths aren't quite up there and they don't go that side as much just yet. So Arthur's came in for that, and I'm pretty happy with that. Set up pretty well. See how I push on this week. I'm very happy with the money making at least. Anyway, Dream Team. That's the other one. Did hurt to not have Connor Watson last week and had copped a few shockers. Me and Turbo mostly. Who was the other one? I think I played somebody else for a bit of a dud. Yeah, Hopwood wasn't great. I see the thing about Dream Team is that it's halfway between Supercoach and fantasy scoring. So 12 points for a try instead of 8 or 17. Most of them are sort of halfway between, except negatives are massive. Negatives are way worse. -4 for an error, -3 for a missed tackle. So in all honesty, I don't think I can afford Hopwood to Haas, but I'd really love to do that. I have to think about that. But yeah, I reckon that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to think of Hopwood to somebody because if the Eels are going to get belted around and he's going to get no attack and miss a few tackles because they're just not good, unfortunately, I'll have to let him go. Unlike in fantasy, where he's still probably, you hang on to him and it's a hold. Yeah. I like that. I think that's good. I've rattled on enough about my team now. Good luck for this week. Yep, let's do it. Lock in Captain Haas. I just think it's really hard to go against somebody who you know is a 60 average, not necessarily Cleary, you know is a 60 average and just looks better this year. And Cleary in a team that's not looking quite as good this year and is playing the Melbourne Storm. Cleary is going to get 50 again, almost certain of that. But you can't tell me that Cleary is going to go and score 80, 85, 90 plus against that Storm team. Like that feels out of this world. And Payne Haas against the Cowboys could put another big one. I think that's been done for this week, guys. Hopefully Harry Grant can bounce back for me and I can make another push. Because, yeah, these first few rounds, if you can push high, it really helps. Just also with that cash gen as well. So, leaving me a bit thin for round 4, 2 Knights plus Hubner. So, I will have to deal with that next round. But I'll be able to trade. I'll be able to loop pretty heavily and pretty nicely, I'd imagine. Hopefully better than last week where everybody played the same game with that kit. Same game, same game, and same game. Yuck. Big points loss there, but we move on and good luck for this week, guys. And hopefully some more 900,000 plus scores for all of us.